Good evening and welcome to the public hearing for the Township of Livingston Zoning Board of Adjustment. Today is Tuesday, November 28th, 2023. If you are an applicant for a D or a use variance, you should be aware that such a variance can only be granted after showing that special reasons for the grant of the variance exists, and that variance can be granted without substantial detriment to the zoning plan of the Township of Livingston. You should also be aware that in order to be granted such a variance, you will require an affirmative vote of 5 members of the 7-member Board of Adjustment. Other variances require a majority of 4 members to grant that variance. If you are an applicant for any variance and your variance is denied by this board, you have a right to appeal to the Superior Court of the State of New Jersey within 45 days of notice of decision, and that court may overturn the decision of this board. If you're an objector to any type of variance that has been granted, you too may appeal to the Superior Court of the State of New Jersey within 45 days of the notice of decision. If you do file an appeal, I ask that you please provide a copy of your complaint to the Planning Administrator, Jackie Hollis. Pursuant to the requirements of the Open Public Meetings Act, also known as the Sunshine Law, adequate notice of this meeting was provided to the Star Ledger and West Essex Tribune, and a copy was also posted on the bulletin board of the municipal building. In addition to having notice posted, notice of this meeting was placed on the township's website. Members of the public will have an opportunity to ask questions or make statements regarding each application at the appropriate time. When the time comes, if you would like to address the board, please come to the front and use the microphone so we can make sure your comments or questions are part of the record. We will now call the roll.
Mr. Nardone?
Here.
Ms. Khan is here. Mr. Affronti?
Here.
Oops,
Here.
sorry. Ms. Vass?
Here.
And I'll note that Ms. Hollis, the planning administrator, is here, Ms. Madry, the planning coordinator, and Mr. Gemis, the township attorney for the evening.
Thank you. Ms. Khan, will you please call the first application? Don't we have to call them first? Yeah, call the first one. The first one.
Block number 1704, lot 19, 89 East McClellan Avenue, application number 2023-25-V, Gary and Doris Tufaro. Applicant seeks approval for a 2-car garage in violation of the following section: 170-87E1A, accessory building height 13 feet allowed, 18 feet proposed, 5 feet variance requested.
Mr. and Mrs. Tafaro, hi. Unfortunately, this evening, we only have 5 members of the zoning board present tonight, and as you're aware, Mr. Beer needs to recuse himself. Your variance is a D variance, which requires a vote of 5. You need 5 affirmative votes. So we need to adjourn this application until our next meeting, which is December 12th. December 12th? Yes. But we can waive any additional notices required. Come back on Tuesday, on the 12th. Thank you. Sorry for the inconvenience. No problem. Okay, Ms. Khan, will you please call the second application? We're going to go to, I'm sorry, yeah, number 3.
Number 3.
Number 3.
Block 5800, lot 19, 2 Squire Court, application number 2023-45-V, Fernway Builders, LLC. Applicant seeks approval for the installation of a covered porch in the rear yard in violation of the following section: 170-97C4, rear yard setback, 50 feet required, 42.04 feet proposed, 7.96 feet variance requested.
There we go.
Hello.
Good evening, Madam Chair, members of the board. It's a pleasure to be here in beautiful Livingston this evening. My name is Derek Orth from the law firm of Inglesino Taylor, located in Parsippany, New Jersey. I'm here tonight on behalf of the applicant, Fernway Builders, LLC. the applicant and the builder of this lovely single-family home located at 2 Squire Court, Livingston, New Jersey. The property is identified, as Ms. Khan helpfully noted, as Block 5800, Lot 19 on Livingston's official tax map, and is located in the township's R2 zone district. We are here this evening seeking approval of a rear yard setback variance for a covered patio, which extends 7.96 feet into the permitted rear yard setback of the home. Specifically, the zone ordinance requires a rear yard setback of 50 feet, whereas the applicant is proposing a rear yard setback of 42.04 feet. As the board can see from the photographs and the as-built survey that we submitted in conjunction with the application, the home is fully constructed and the covered patio, with the exception of the fireplace, has been installed. And this was done prior to the filing of this application and was a result of an honest mistake by the applicant and its professionals during the permitting process, for which we beg the board's forgiveness. In short, at some point during the permitting process, the applicant and its professionals incorporated a covered patio into the permitting plans. We did so without knowing that this modification violated the rear yard setback standards in the R2 zone, and simply thought that it created a nice place for family to gather on the weekends and the evenings in the rear yard. During inspections, Livingston's construction department noticed this issue and advised us that we needed to seek bulk variance relief from the zoning board in order to permit this covered patio to remain, and that is why we are here this evening. In terms of witnesses, I have 2 for the board's consideration this evening. This includes Sanket Shaw, the builder of the home, the principal of Fernway Builders, LLC, who is also a Livingston resident. And we also have Brian Conway of Casey & Keller, who's our planner, who will provide some brief testimony regarding the requested variance relief. I know that everyone here is a volunteer, Madam Chair, so we have prepared a brief and efficient presentation for the board's consideration this evening. So with that introduction, Madam Chair, if I may call Mr. Sanket Shaw to be sworn in by Mr. Jemis or whomever, and he can start his testimony.
Mr. Shaw, do you swear or affirm that all the statements you'll make to the board today will be true, complete, and accurate?
Yes, I do.
Consider yourself under oath.
Yes, I do.
Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Jemis. So I'm just going to speak loudly so we can kind of share the microphone this evening. But Mr. Shaw, why don't you just introduce yourself to the board? You're a Livingston resident, correct?
Yes, I'm for the last 10 years now.
And you're a builder of single-family homes in Livingston and other areas in the Essex County suburbs, correct?
That is correct, yeah.
And you constructed this building at this structure, this single-family home at 2 Squire Court?
That is right.
Okay, and do you have any photographs of the subject property that you would like to show the board this evening? Mr. Conway is doubling as the worker of our PowerPoint presentation this evening. I hope that's acceptable to the board.
So that's the most, at least from my end, the most beautiful house that we've ever built. It faces the golf course, a very large property.
And it's the home on the right, correct?
That's the home on the right, that's right, yeah.
And this picture isn't in our packet, correct?
Actually, that's correct, Madam Chair. This is, I believe, a drone photograph that was not included in the packet, so.
A similar one is there.
No, but so we'll mark this as
It ha-
A1, please.
Yes, ma'am.
Thank you.
Okay, and Mr. Conway, if you may be so kind as to just point out the covered patio that is the subject of the application this evening. There it is. Any other photographs you'd like to show the board? Brian, if you wouldn't mind. And why don't you just identify the home for the board as
So the
well?
home is on the bottom right, and it backs into the whole golf course in the back. It's got some beautiful vista views from, from the porch, from the side yard, from the front yard as well.
High-quality construction materials, correct?
Absolutely, yep,
And the fireplace in the back has not yet been completed, correct?
that's correct.
And that was because you were notified by the construction department that would require the rear yard setback variance, correct?
That is right.
And should the board approve this application this evening, you would complete the construction of the fireplace, correct?
That is correct.
Very good. Brian, anything else? Yes,
Madam Chairman, can I just ask a question?
Please.
Mr. Shaw, will you confirm that those photographs that we've just shown, A1 and A2, accurately depict what's shown on those things? Are they correct?
That is right.
Thank you very much.
And Mr. Gemis, what I will do after the hearing concludes this evening, I will email PDF copies of any exhibits that we have presented tonight. So the
Thank
board
you
has a
very
full
much, Mr.
record. And this is a front view of the home, correct?
That is right.
And this has been fully constructed. And when did you take these photographs here?
Just a month back when the new owners moved in.
And this was submitted with the application materials, correct?
Yes.
Okay. I think that's enough for the board to get an idea of the quality of this home's construction and essentially all the actual details that you can provide for the board this evening. Is there anything else you'd like to add?
Just to say that, we were never had the intention of either bypassing code or process. Like Derek mentioned, it was an honest mistake.
Thank you, Mr. Shaw. I have no
Thank you, Derek.
further questions on direct, Madam Chair.
Thank you. Does anyone on the board have any questions for this witness?
Was the portico, or the rear, was that shown on the original plans?
On a subsequent plan, during the framing, rough framing, it was shown.
It was shown and submitted to the building department?
Yes.
I guess they missed it?
Any further questions, witness? Does anyone in the public have any questions for this witness? Thank you.
Thank you, Madam Chair, members of the board. I have no, you're good to go. You can stay here if you'd like, but you can relax. My next witness is Mr. Conway, who's our professional planner for this evening.
Conway, do you swear or affirm that any statements and all statements you make to the board this evening will be true, accurate, and complete?
Yes, I do.
Consider yourself under oath, please.
Thank you.
And Mr. Conway, before you get started, would you please provide the board with a very brief overview of your professional qualifications as a planner, confirming that your licenses are in good standing and effect in the state of New Jersey?
Certainly. My name is Brian Conway. I'm a graduate of Cook College, Rutgers University. My degree is in environmental planning and design. I've been a licensed landscape architect since 1992 and a licensed planner since 1994. My licenses are all current and in place. I've been before the planning board and the zoning board in Livingston numerous times, testified in numerous boards as a planner, as a landscape architect throughout the state of New Jersey.
Thank you, Mr. Conway. Madam Chair, we proffer him as an expert in the field of professional planning.
Thank you. Does anyone on the board have any questions or objections? There being no objections, the witness is accepted as an expert in the field of planning.
Thank you,
Thank you.
Madam Chair.
Thank you.
Mr. Conway, if you want to just take it away for us.
Thank you.
Before you get started, just kindly confirm any exhibit that you showed tonight was either included with the submission packet or should be marked as an exhibit appropriately.
I believe that this was part of the submission packet. It's our as-built survey.
This was included, Madam Chair.
I can get the date on it, but the screen's really small. I have a hard copy here.
It's dated August 31st,
August
2023.
31st, 2023. So the subject property is located at the southern corner of Squire Court and Walnut Street in the R2 Residence District. The subject property is an unusually shaped lot of 25,027 square feet or 0.575 acres. It's a corner lot with frontage on Squire Court and Walnut Street. The lot is 200.5 feet deep along the eastern property line, and it is 115 feet deep along the western property line. And what that does is it sets the geometry of the rear lot line, which is on the south side of the property, at a 53-degree angle to Walnut Street, which is part of the issue we have with our setback. I'm just giving some background information on the lot and the layout of the property. A 2.5-story single-family home was permitted and constructed by Fernway Builders. The as-built conditions on the application: the front of the house faces Squire Court, and the orientation is parallel to the eastern sideline. During the course of construction, a covered patio was added to the scope of the project over what is a compliant patio and a fireplace in the rear yard. There was some confusion amongst the Fernway team regarding the setbacks, and the covered patio was submitted for a framing permit in good faith. It was later discovered that there was a mix-up that put a portion of the roof in violation of the rear yard setback, and we are here tonight to seek variance relief for this. Part of the, if you look at the plan in the center of the rear of the house, there's the covered patio, and about 115 square feet, a diagonal piece of the end of it is what is in violation of the setback. So a few specifics for the lot. The front yard, which faces Squire Court, a minimum 60-foot setbacks required. A 67.19-foot setback was provided. The western sideline along Walnut Street, a 50-foot setback was required. A 50.59-foot was provided. Along the eastern sideline, 15-foot was required and a 15.17 provided. And on the rear yard to the south, minimum 50 feet required. The setback to the house proper is 51.13 feet, and the setback to the covered patio, the roofed area, is 42.04 feet, which is a variance of 7.96 feet. The rear yard of this property faces the side yard of the neighboring property to the south, 97 Walnut Street. There's an attached garage on the north side of the house, as well as parking and driveway along their entire northern boundary, which shares our lot line. So our rear line, our rear yard abuts their side yard in a utilitarian aspect of their yard, which is their driveway, their parking area, and their garage. The house was permitted and constructed in accordance with all applicable zoning and building codes, with the exception of the covered patio. Just wanted to have a little discussion about covered patios. Covered patios are a residential amenity that is usual and customary for new luxury residential construction. In a post-COVID world, I think we've all learned to cherish and appreciate our outdoor living spaces. Patios provide outdoor living spaces. The patio that was built here is completely zoning compliant. There's a fireplace that was also under construction, which is also zoning compliant. It provides visual interest as well as to serve to mitigate the cold weather use of the patio. The roof over the patio, which is why we're here today, provides additional opportunity to utilize the patio in inclement weather such as rain or snow. The other big advantage why a lot of people put the covered patios is the patios become an outdoor living space, and typically they get furnished with furniture and cushions, et cetera. And having a roof over it lets the outdoor living spaces be ready for use at any given point in time, year-round, with minimal amount of setup. Based upon this analysis, it's my opinion that this proposal is not inconsistent with the concept of maintaining our neighborhood character. I think we're going to look at a C2 variance for this, where the purposes of municipal land use law would be advanced by a deviation from zoning, ordinance requirements, and the net benefits of the deviation would substantially outweigh any detriment. With the flexible C is what we'd be looking for, better planning alternative. So I think that the variance application is supported by the purposes of the Act, the Municipal Land Use Law 40:55D-2, A, to encourage municipal action to guide the appropriate use or development of lands in a manner that will promote general welfare, to provide adequate light, air, and open space, and to promote that's C, and then I, to promote desirable visual environment through creative development techniques and good civic design and arrangements. So to go into a little bit more detail on each one of these, the general welfare, the proposal is consistent with the state's master plan objective of smart growth because it's part of an updated new home with current amenities, replacing an existing older home. Advances general welfare. It's a positive impact on the neighborhood. It's an investment on in the neighborhood with a new home construction with customary amenities generally has a positive effect on the value of neighboring homes. In terms of light, air, and open space, as previously discussed, the covered patio provides an enhanced outdoor living area to enjoy the benefits of light, air, and open space. There's also been an evergreen buffer that's been planted to help buffer the covered patio. And the desirable visual environment, construction of a new home that is neighborhood and market appropriate with nice amenities helps enhance the town as well as the neighborhood. I believe the benefits outweigh the detriments. For negative criteria, no variance or other relief can be granted without showing that such variance can be granted without substantial detriment to the public good, and it will not substantially impair the intent or purpose of the zone plan and zoning ordinance. Insofar as being granted without substantial detriment to the public good, the rear yard setback variance is for a small portion of the covered patio, 115 square feet, which is the 7.96 square feet is the peak of the triangle. And the corner lot configuration places the rear yard of this property adjacent to the side yard of the neighbor. The side yard of the neighboring property is largely occupied by driveway and parking area with the garage at that end of the home, therefore no living space. Therefore, the requested variance would not impact the adjacent neighbor. And it will not substantially impair the intent or purpose of the zone planning zoning ordinance. It provides a new housing opportunity with contemporary amenities that is well suited for the town and the neighborhood. That concludes my testimony. I'd be happy to answer any question or provide any additional information.
I have nothing further for Mr. Conway on direct.
Thank you. Does anyone on the board have any questions for this witness?
I have a question. So, thank you very much for your testimony. When Mr. Nardone asked you if this was on the original plan, you said yes, right?
This is the as-built plan.
But the original plan that was submitted, was the portico on the original plan?
No, it was not.
All right, because you did say during the course of construction, the portico was added.
It was added while the house was being
Right.
under
Okay.
construction.
Okay.
And my understanding, Ms. Khan, is that it was added during the framing permit process. So it was added at some level during the permitting process. It was not on the original construction set with the covered patio, and the applicant incorporated it during the process. And later on, we realized the zoning department informed us that it violated the setback standard because of the covered patio.
I know, I'm just confused because it was built during the framing process, but was it approved when you, obviously it wasn't approved when you were building it? You just, like, if you could just clear that up.
My understanding is it was approved from a construction standpoint, but at the framing permit level, it's not reviewed necessarily from a zoning standpoint. So that's where I believe the issue came from.
Okay.
All right, you got to clear that up for me. You file for permits, you get the permits, and framing starts. Did they build a portico before he submitted the revised plans for the portico?
They did footing and foundations first,
Okay,
and then they proceeded to framing, correct? Saying-
framing, okay.
And did the framing permit have the,
Yes,
yes?
The framing permit had the portico on the plans,
that had the roof structure on the plan, that's correct.
and the zoning department overlooked it, but then notified him at a later date that it was overlooked and that he would need to comply.
That is correct, Mr. Nardone.
Okay, just wanted to clear it up.
Any other questions?
Does anyone in the public have any questions for this witness? Thank you.
The last thing I'll add, Madam Chair, is that we did get a memo from Mr. Marucci in commenting on the application. We have no issue complying with that memorandum. And that is all for my direct presentation. Any questions from the board? We're happy to have them, or from the public. Thank you.
Thank you. Does anyone on the board have any questions about this application? Does anyone in the public have any questions about this application? Would anyone in the public like to make a statement about this application? Would anyone on the board like to make a statement about this application? Okay.
I'd like to make a motion. Block 5800, Lot 19, 2 Squire Court, application number 2023-45-V, Fernway Builders LLC. I would like to make a motion to approve this application.
I'll second.
Okay, so motion by Ms. Khan, second by Mr. Affronti.
Okay. Mr. Nardone?
Yes.
You start with you first.
I start with me. Ms. Khan says yes. Mr. Nardone? Yes.
usually who's
You said
second.
yes,
Then
okay.
Mr. Affronti.
Mr. Affronti?
Yes.
Okay. Mr. Beer?
Yes.
Ms. Fass?
Yes.
Motion passes. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Okay.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Thank you, members of the board. We appreciate your time.
Thank you.
Thank you. Okay. Ms. Khan, will you please call the next application?
Block 7401, Lot 4, 8 Fordham Road, application number 2023-49-V, 14 Waterfall Drive, LLC. Applicant seeks approval to construct a new single-family home in violation of the following sections: 170-87CC1, habitable floor ratio, 15% allowed, 18.9% proposed, 3.9% feet variance requested.
Good evening, everyone. My name is Matthew Posada. I'm with the law firm of Sills, Thomas and Gross, and I represent the applicant, 14 Ward Drive, LLC, in connection with these. There we go. One more time. All right, good evening, everyone. My name is Matthew Posada. I'm with the law firm Sills, Thomas and Gross, and I represent the applicant, 14 Waterfall Drive, LLC, in connection with this application for habitable floor area ratio. The applicant is here tonight proposing to demolish the existing single-family home, which is a ranch with a basement, to propose a new two-story single-family home. The proposed application is fully conforming, but for the ratio, which is in a direct correlation with the minimum lot size issue, which is an existing nonconformity. The habitable floor area that we are proposing here tonight is 4,743 square feet, which is approximately 1,400 square feet below the permitted floor area ratio if this was a conforming lot size. The proposed habitable floor area ratio was specifically designed given the fact that the actual lot size today is 25,000 square feet. 25,000 square feet is the minimum lot size for an R2. And although we're not an R2, R2 does permit a existing improvement to be up to 4,870, which is why we chose a habitable floor area ratio of 4,743, given the ratio of 18.9. With that being said, for tonight's application, I will have two witnesses. My first witness will be my architect, John Erzin, and my second will be my planner, Nick Graviano. If I may, I'd like to call my first witness, my architect, Mr. John Erzin.
Mr. Irvin, you swear or affirm that all the statements you'll make to the board this evening will be true, accurate, and complete?
I do.
Can you state your name and your address, please?
Sure. It's John Erzin, last name Erzen. I reside at 18 Tuxedo Lane in Congress, New York.
Thank you. Consider yourself under oath.
I do.
John, can you please provide your educational credentials and also whether or not your license in New Jersey is still in good standing?
Sure. I graduated from the New York Institute of Technology. I hold a bachelor's in architecture, and I'm a registered architect in New Jersey in good standing.
And can you just name one or two boards where you've been qualified before in the past as an architect?
One would be Cliffside Park, and the other one would be North Bergen.
Thank you. Does this board accept him as an expert in architecture?
Thank you. Does anyone on the board have any questions or objections? Then there being no objections, the witness is accepted as offered.
Thank you so much. John, are you familiar with the R1 zoning district?
Yes, I am.
And is this proposed single-family home within the R1 zoning district?
Correct.
Have you had an opportunity to review the proposed plans for the subject site?
Yes, I have.
Can you please walk us through the proposed plans, including the details for both the elevations and the floor layouts?
Sure. So if we go to sheet A001, which is the first
sheet of the submission set dated 6/15/23. This basically has the proposed layout for the site plan, a rendering of what the final construction is going to be for the proposed home, and the bulk table for the requirements. So shifting to sheet A101, which is the second sheet in the set, I'll take you briefly through the first floor plan, which is also the ground floor. So we enter through the main foyer area, and we have a double height space. This is also serves for the grand stair. I'll work my way clockwise throughout this set. I'm trying to read it here. It's the dining room will be the first room on the left off the foyer, followed by the den, which has a walkout area in the front of the building. This is accessed through a hallway, which adjacent to that will be the pantry behind the kitchen. The kitchen and the great room is an open plan, which also has an island. And within the great room, trying to imagine this space, but it'll be a vaulted ceiling, which actually opens up into the balcony or walkway above the, on the second floor. Serving off the great room, we also have the sunroom, and there'll be a small powder room serving the ground floor. And between that space, we have a little nook area where there's shelving for books, and then you come into a living room area. To the bottom right-hand corner will be the guest room, which is also going to serve as the in-law suite. This also encompasses a walk-in closet and a bathroom that just serves primarily for that room. I'll switch over to the second floor plan, which is A102. As you can see, there's a set of stairs that comes up into the second floor from the main entry foyer. Going again to the left-hand side, we have 2 bedrooms. They're typically around the average range of what it is, you know, the average size bedrooms being built in today's marketing. Between those 2 bedrooms, we have a laundry room, and serving between the 2 bedrooms will be access to a bathroom, which serves those 2 bedrooms, double vanity, and then there'll be a separate room where the toilet and the tub is for privacy. Off the bottom left-hand bedroom, there is a balcony, which gives some views of the street in front, Fordham Road, and also the views of the property in front of the front yard. Moving across the walkway from the 2 bedrooms on the left-hand side, across the walkway, like I mentioned before, we have a balcony with a railing that overlooks into the great room. So it's a nice aesthetic. It gives a very open feel. Not only from the walkway, you can see the great room, but on the opposite side, you'll have that open foyer area. So directly across from the walkway, about mid-span, you have another bedroom. This is more like an ensuite, so we have 2 closets there, as well as its own independent bathroom. They have also a linen closet adjacent to that. And following down to the walkway to the right-hand side of the building, we have the master bedroom suite. So this encompasses the master bedroom itself, a very large walk-in closet, and a double vanity bathroom with a towel closet, a private water closet, as well as a tub and a shower. Going down, excuse me, going down to the next floor, which is the basement level. This is sheet A103. In this basement, going down the stairs, you head toward the front of the building, front of the house, and we enter into what would be the rec room or game room. It's a multi-use room for whatever they decide to finish it as. Off the rec room, we have another bathroom that serves for the basement itself. And then we have an office/guest room on the left-hand side of the house itself, which also by code, we have an egress window well and a secondary laundry room. To the right-hand side of the house, we have a 3-car garage, one which will be used for the in-laws as well. Okay, moving to sheet A201. The next sheet as well will be 4 elevations for all 4 sides. So this depicts the overall look of the house as proposed. Again, in the front, we could see on the left-hand side, there's a balcony. There'll be a little covered area for the den, covered porch. The materials are going to be a hardy plank horizontal siding. The windows are all casements, which some of them are accompanied by either a hopper window or transom, just to give it a nice aesthetic look also. And the height of the building is, I believe, 34'8", according to my notes, 34'6" to be precise. So we are still remaining within the height of the building, although the existing building right now is a 1-story building. So not much to say about the north elevation, which is the rear of the building, but again, you can see that sloped roof in the back, which is covering the great room, and we have the sloped roofs on the right-hand side and the left-hand side. Again, same materials that are complete around the house itself. Going to sheet A202, this is the right-hand elevation where the 3 garages are, and this will be facing the east side of the property. Again, same materials that are consistent with the front, back, and rear, and the sides. The west elevation, again, we could see the balcony and the covered entry and the roofs itself. So the actual footprint of the existing house as it sits on the lot is 2,853 square feet. Although that we are looking for relief for the variance of the floor area, the actual footprint of the house is going to be less than what it is now. The only thing we're essentially doing is putting a second floor above it. We also are not exceeding the 4,870 square feet that would be required in an R2, being that we're 25,000 square feet non-conforming with the lot size itself. So that being said, even with the proposed 4,743 square feet, we would be less than what would be required for an R2. So our feeling with, even though we're asking for this variance, that the building itself would not be out of scale and would be consistent with the neighborhood characteristics. So that concludes my testimony. If anybody has any questions or...
And just for clarification, when it comes to the double counting, we have that, right? Which causes an increase in the ratio?
Correct. So by definition, with the town of Livingston, we would only be counting the double height floor area on the second floor in the entry foyer. The backside is not included according to the definition. So we're only double counting the front foyer area. So even though we're, counting that as square foot, we're not really using that space itself.
And then also, I believe the Livingston zoning code permits a reduction of the habitable floor ratio of approximately 450 square feet for garages. But is it true and accurate that our garage exceeds 450 square feet so that we can have a 3-car garage for that in-law suite?
Yeah, that is correct. And I believe we're at 820 square feet total for the 3-car garage. That would bring us, it would be about 350 square feet that would be taken and included into that habitable floor area. So that would be the difference between the 850 and the 450 allowed, counting as a reduction for the floor area.
Great. I have no further questions for this witness.
Thank you. Does anyone on the board have any questions for this witness?
Sure.
So you're proposing, for the habitable floor ratio, it's 15%, you're proposing 18.9, correct?
Correct.
Okay. The ordinance is, I'm reading your zoning table, you put on here 3,750 square feet, and you're proposing 4,743. I looked at it. What am I missing here?
Well, that calculation would only be if our lot size was 35,250. We were at 25. I think it basically shows that what the hardship would be for the 3,000, because we
It's
couldn't
just an
design.
So it's just an illustration.
Well, that's the ordinance, as if we follow the ordinance without going for a variance. So the proposed is what we're going for. Although we're showing 4,743, that's based on a 25,000 square foot lot. So this is similar to what you have for an R2. So we're thinking that as
No,
far
I
as.
think you're missing his question. His question was whether or not it was an illustration, and that is exactly what it is. It's 15% of what the minimum lot size is, 25,000, to make it conforming, which would be the 3,750.
If we had to conform to what the variant, I'm sorry, what
ratio
the
requirement.
ratio is, that's what we would have to hold to.
Yeah, that's 15.
Okay.
Sorry for the confusion.
Does anyone else on the board have any questions for this witness?
I actually have one little minor clarification. I'm so messing with the numbers. On A102, I assume bedroom 5 is not bedroom 5?
Yeah.
Yeah, that is a typo.
Okay.
Okay, does anyone in the public have any questions for this witness? Okay, thank you.
Okay, Madam Chair, members of the board, thank you for your time.
Thank you.
Thank you so much. I'd like to call my final witness, my planner, Nick Graviano.
You swear or affirm that any statements you give to the board this evening will be true, accurate, and complete?
I do.
State your name and address.
Yes, my first name is Nicholas with an H, last name Graviano, G-R-A-V as in Victor, I-A-N-O. I have a business address of 101 Crawford's Corner Road in Holmdel, New Jersey.
Thank you. Consider yourself, I'm sorry, what I usually operate, I don't have to press the button, so I'm getting used to it at my age. Consider yourself under oath. Thank you.
Thank you.
Nick, can you please provide your educational credentials and whether or not your license is still in good standing?
Certainly, I hold a bachelor's degree from Rutgers University, a master's degree in city and regional planning from Rutgers University, a law degree from the Temple University School of Law, where I received a distinguished class performance in state and local government law. I hold an AICP certification as well as a New Jersey professional planning license. I've testified before over 100 boards in 18 different counties, including Belleville, Caldwell, North Caldwell, the Oranges, Maplewood, and Newark here in Essex County.
Does this board accept him as an expert in just planning?
Thank you. Does anyone have any questions or objections? Okay, then, there being no objections, this witness is accepted as offered.
Thank you for having me.
Thank you.
Thank you. Nick, have you had an opportunity to review the proposed plans?
Yes, I've reviewed the plans submitted by the applicant. I've also had a chance to review the municipal correspondence, as well as conducting 2 separate site visits to the subject site.
All right, can you please walk us through the proposed variance relief that we're asking before this board?
Yes, as stated previously, this is a D4 FAR variance request for a specific piece of property known as Block 7401, Lot 4, with a street address of 8 Fordham Road. As you heard in the architectural testimony, the applicant does seek to demolish the existing single-family dwelling to replace it with a new single-family dwelling. The applicant is here this evening requesting one variance. That's from Code Section 170-87CC1, in that 15% habitable floor ratio is allowed, whereas the applicant is proposing 18.9%. As you heard in previous testimony, the applicant's lot is undersized at 25,000 square feet, whereas 35,250 square feet is required in the zone. You also heard that the existing footprint of the current dwelling is 2,853 square feet, whereas the applicant's proposed first floor is 2,363 square feet. So there's roughly a 500 square foot reduction in the footprint of this house, although the applicant is requesting an FAR variance this evening. I did have a chance to view the surrounding neighborhood and the homes in that neighborhood. This is certainly a home that is in keeping with the size and character of the established dwellings in the neighborhood. Furthermore, I had the chance to look at tax assessment data, which gives you the habitable square feet of the dwellings in the neighborhood. The applicant's calculation does actually include a part of the garage, which is part of your zoning calculation, which isn't necessarily reflected in the assessment data. So in looking at that data, the smallest house on Fordham Road measures roughly 2,250 square feet, whereas the largest measures roughly 6,100 square feet. So this is certainly a house which is in the middle range of the established square footages of Fordham Road. So when you're looking at the D4 variance, and all the times you guys have spent away from your friends and family has taught you that the D4 variance can be granted in particular cases and for special reasons. That's the positive criteria of the D4 variance. Additionally, as it pertains to the D4 FAR variance, New Jersey courts have ruled that this variance is more akin to a conditional use variance in that the analysis that the board must face is that whether or not the site can accommodate any problems associated with the FAR variance. This applicant does not need to demonstrate that the property is particularly suited for the more intensive development. With respect to the negative criteria, no variance relief can be granted without showing that there's no substantial detriment to the public good, nor that there's a substantial detriment to the purpose of the zone plan and zoning ordinance. Looking at the positive criteria, this certainly advances Purpose A of the municipal land use law to encourage municipal action to guide the appropriate use of development of lands in a manner which will promote the public health, safety, morals, and general welfare. This is a new dwelling that's going to be built to modern codes and standards, replacing a home that has shown signs of dilapidation. Additionally, this is a single-family house in a single-family zone. It certainly promotes Purpose E, appropriate population densities. It also advances Purpose G to provide sufficient space in an appropriate location for a variety of residential uses to meet the needs of New Jersey citizens. Moving on to the negative criteria, there's certainly no substantial detriment to the public good. This is a home that is in keeping with the established neighborhood patterns. There's no substantial detriment to the zone plan or zoning ordinance. The applicant, as you heard in testimony, went through great care to propose a FAR which is consistent with established lot sizes of your zoning code. Additionally, when you look at this proposal, the applicant is not requesting any setback variances, is not requesting any height variances, meets all the required parking, is proposing a 3-car garage, much of which adds to the FAR and square footage of this dwelling. When you go to the site, the topography and existing landscaping of the dwelling do block a substantial view of the house. So I think based on all of these factors, there's certainly no substantial detriment to the public good or zone plan or zoning ordinance.
And is it your expert opinion that the site can accommodate the proposed improvement as no other variances are being triggered?
Certainly. I think that is a key factor here, as well as the actual reduction in building footprint. I think when you take all these factors into account, and given the undersized nature of the lot, there's going to be no detrimental impacts of this, and the site can certainly accommodate the proposed dwelling that's before the board this evening.
I have no further questions for this witness.
Thank you. Does anyone on the board have any questions for this witness? Does anyone in the public have any questions for this witness? Thank you. Yes.
You indicated that you reviewed the documents, including the project memorandum by Mr. Marucci,
Yes.
all right? And that indicates that there's might contain a precautionary slope and you have to comply, the applicant would have to comply with 24-209 ordinance? You familiar with that?
Yes,
Okay, and that the applicant will comply with that, correct?
correct.
And one other item, it appears that it may increase the impervious coverage. Of course, that's Mr. Marucci's comment. That would require compliance with management of lot surface drainage ordinance 35-2008. And the applicant will comply with that as well, correct?
Yes.
Thank you.
I just want to thank the board for your time tonight, and I just want to reiterate that this applicant spent substantial consideration of the R2 zoning code, although we're not in the R2. We were very conscientious of the fact that this board has already considered what would be appropriate for a 25,000 square foot home when designing the proposed improvement. Thank you.
Yeah, one comment. Matt, on the plan, for what it's worth, it's just a little, under the ordinance, it's just a little confusing because when I compared it with the zoning table, and that's what threw me off, you list all the township ordinances, except they have that 3750 in there. It should read the 60, in my opinion.
6,200
It should read the 6,200, because when I looked at it, I'm like, something didn't make sense, and I knew it was 6,200 based on the R1, which threw me off.
Yes.
So before you submit them, just to avoid any problem, I would change that to the 6,200, so you're not getting hung up.
Got it. We'll do.
Just my 2 cents.
Yeah, we just want to put in perspective of what would have been tolerated or what would have been appropriate pursuant to the code, but I agree. It should have just been
That's why I
specific
asked.
to the CC and the BB of 87.
Otherwise, you're going to be hung up over something silly.
Yep.
You get it.
We'll modify it.
I know you get it.
6,200. Thank you.
Would anyone in the public like to make a statement about this application? Would anyone on the board like to make a statement about this application? So Mr. Prasad, I want to commend the applicant for taking the time, as you said, to look at our ordinance for an R2 zone. And it's obvious that the architect and the applicant took great pains to comply with there are no bulk variances requested. As you said, it's under the square footage for an R2 house, and so I appreciate the effort that went into that.
Thank you. We appreciate it.
Sure. Yeah.
Yeah.
All right, I'd like to make a motion to approve this application.
I'll second.
Motion by Mr. Beer, second by Mr. Nardone.
Mr. Beer,
Yes.
Mr. Nardone.
Yes.
Ms. Khan votes yes. Mr. Affronti?
Yes.
Ms. Bass?
Yes,
Motion passes.
Thank you so much, everyone.
Thank you.
Have a great night.
thank you. Ms. Khan, please call the next application.
Can I borrow your phone for a second? Block 1001, Lot 38, 3 Emerson Drive, application number 2023-50-V, Mina and Dale Song. Applicant seeks approval for a rear and second floor addition and covered rear porch in violation of the following sections: 170-99C3, left side yard setback, 10 feet required, 3.91 feet proposed, 6.09 feet variance requested. 170-99C3, aggregate side yard, 30% requested, 27% proposed, 3% variance requested.
Hello.
Good evening. My name is Mina Song. I'm a Livingston resident at 3 Emerson Drive. My husband Dale Song and I have 2 small children at Harrison Elementary
We
School.
need to just swear you in first.
Oh, I'm so sorry.
That's okay.
Do you swear or affirm that all the statements you make to the board this evening will be true, accurate, and complete?
I do.
I'm going to do it one more time with the green light on. Do you swear or affirm that any and all statements you make to the board this evening will be true, accurate, and complete?
I do.
Is anyone else going to testify?
My architect, Lisa Walzer.
And do you swear or affirm that any statements you make to the board this evening are true, will be true, accurate, and complete?
Yes, I do.
Yes.
Thank you.
Yes.
And Ms. Walter, will you just run through, I know you've been before us before, but could you just run through your qualifications, please?
I'm a licensed architect in New Jersey and New York. I've been licensed since 1984, and I've testified before this board as well as a lot of other local boards in various towns.
And your license is still in good standing?
My license is in good standing.
Thank you. Are there any questions or objections? Then we can accept you as an expert in the field of architecture. Okay, so Ms. Song, please tell us why you're here.
Our family is my kids are getting a little bit bigger, and we're hoping to expand our property, which is requiring a variance, and I will defer to Ms. Walzer to explain the details of that variance application.
Okay, so Mina had, when I met Mina, she told me that, as she said, she needed, their house is a small split-level house. They currently use what is the typical like living room as their family room. There is the kitchen by a former owner expanded into what was the dining room. It's still not very big, but and then there's a dining room in the back. So there's no family room. There's a small living room, a small kitchen, and then a small dining room. The room that's being used as a family room for the family to watch TV, read books, whatever you would do, has the entry door. You open it up, you open the front door into that room. It's open to the kitchen, as you can see on the plans. So that's the room in the front that says dining, former living family room. We're proposing to use that existing space as the new dining room, keep the existing kitchen, and all we're looking to do is expand what was being used as the dining room to make it into a decent-sized family room so that the family could be together. Because of the nature of the property, if you look at the site plan, the existing house is on an angle, is not set, with the street. And so all we want to do is take the existing room, expand it about 4.5 feet so that it becomes a usable room for a family room. It's not big, but it's a nice 16 by 21, just something that's doable for a family to sit around and watch TV. It requires a variance just to line up with the existing house. The side yard setback becomes a little bit smaller, but it's really negligible in the difference because it's just because of that angle. It's not going out a lot, but it's coming a little closer to the property by really just a matter of inches. So the whole addition, the part that's actually requires a variance is just that little corner piece. So most of it would not even require a variance, but if we went with what the required setback, you'd have an awkward shaped room. You'd have a little piece cut out of the corner. So basically, we're looking for a side yard setback variance so that we could just create a normal family room. It'll be a family room, living room. There's not a lot of living space. It's very hard to add on to a split level because, as you know, like this is the only level that is, that you can use for those kind of spaces. Otherwise, you're walking up or down spaces. We also need the aggregate side yard setback variance, but that's really doesn't really do anything here because on the other side of the house, there's a creek between the house, this house and the next house. So they're separated. So the side yard setback is kind of meaningless because there's not another house next door and there's not buildable land, there's a creek. So there's a lot of room between this house and the next house, way more than the numbers of the setback would indicate. So we're also, as part of this project, the Songs plan to like improve the cosmetic aspect. They want to do a lot of improvements to the house, but if the rooms don't work inside, then it doesn't make sense to go ahead and try to, improve the siding and the look and all of that. So we're just trying to make the house a little more functional. The bedrooms, we're also adding a new primary bedroom because the bedrooms are very small in this house. There's not a lot of storage. This would allow to have one small extra room so they wouldn't feel as crowded, and add some extra closet space to some of the existing bedrooms. That's basically it.
Thank you. Does anyone on the board have any questions for this application? The property is, I guess, a wedge shape,
Right,
right? And that's creating a hardship?
that is creating the hardship.
And I guess the pre-existing location of the house on the property is further exacerbating that.
Exactly. There's no other logical place you could make a family room. So we're using basically an existing room, just expanding it a tiny bit, which could be done, but to get a normal rectangular room, we
Right.
need to get the variance, and it all has to do with the hardship of the house and where it's set on this irregular piece of property. There's no detriment to the neighborhood. It wouldn't even, the only people that would have, that would be impacted at all, and it's so negligible, would be the one house next to them. They're in favor of it. If their house goes a little further out, it's plenty, for the neighborhood, they've got both houses have a lot of open space in the back. It wouldn't affect anybody else anywhere.
So we're boxing off the house because of the way that the house sits on the lot while you're here. If the house were
Exactly.
square to the street, you wouldn't be here.
Right.
You're not going past your existing side of your house. You're not building out
We're not
further.
making,
They're not widening it.
we're
Okay, I
just,
just want that.
Yeah, no,
on the record.
I'm clarifying.
yeah,
Yep.
yeah,
Okay.
exactly.
Yes, please.
So in hearing your testimony, would you agree that if a variance were granted by the board, the purposes of the Municipal Land Use Act would be advanced rather than
Yes,
hindered?
Yes.
And the deviation would not substantially outweigh any detriment that would cause?
correct.
That's your opinion?
That is my
Thank you.
professional
Thank
opinion.
you, Madam Chairman.
Thank you. Does anyone in the public have any questions on this application? Would anyone in the public like to make a statement about this application? Would anyone on the board like to make a statement about this application? Do I have?
I think this is a really nice addition. I think you did a great job in making use of the space that you have. So can I make a motion?
Sure.
Okay. Block 1001, Lot 38, 3 Emerson Drive, application number 2023-50-V, Mina and Dale Song. I make a motion to approve this application.
I'll second it.
Okay. Motion by Ms. Khan, second by Mr. Nardone.
Ms. Khan votes yes. Mr. Nardone?
Yes.
Mr. Affronti?
Yes.
Mr. Beer?
Yes.
Ms. Vass?
Yes.
Motion passes.
Thank you. Thank you.
Thanks, guys.
Okay, Ms. Khan, please call the next application. Yes.
Yes, to bring in the documents on a flash drive. Is there somebody to give it to?
Thank you.
Okay. Block 1704, Lot 10, 90 Sykes Avenue, application number 2023-35-V, Bianca Sosa and Kevin Duffy. Applicant seeks approval for a front covered porch, attached one-car garage with second story and second-story rear addition in violation of the following sections: 170-99C2, front yard setback, 40 feet required, 37.5 feet proposed, 2.5 feet variance requested. 170-99C3, right side yard setback, 10 feet required, 5.75 feet proposed, 4.25 feet variance requested. 170-99C3, aggregate side yard setback, 30% required, 24.4% proposed, 5.6% variance requested. 170-99C4, rear yard setback, 35 feet required, 13.5 feet proposed, 21.5 feet variance requested. 170-87BB4, habitable floor area, 3220 square feet allowed, 3418 square feet proposed, 198 square feet variance requested.
Ms. Sosa, Mr. Duffy. Please tell us why you're here. Yeah. Yes, please.
Turn your mic on.
Again, I got to understand. I'll learn it sooner or later. It only takes me about 5 years. Ms. Sosa and Mr. Duffy, do you swear or affirm that any statements you give to the board this evening will be true, accurate, and complete?
We do.
Yes.
Consider yourself under oath.
Thank you.
Okay, and Mr. Emmert.
I'm sorry, sir, can I have your name?
Robert Emmert Jr., E-M-E-R-T.
Emmert, do you swear or affirm that any statements you give to the board this evening will be true, accurate, and complete?
I do.
I would suggest that you, with the permission of the chair, that you state your qualifications to the board.
Okay. I'm a registered architect in New Jersey. My license is valid. I have I graduated from the University of Kansas in 1983.
Mr. Emmert, can you just use that microphone for me?
Okay, is it on?
Yes, just,
I have 2 degrees, one in Bachelor of Environmental Science and one a Bachelor of Architecture. And I have testified before this board on numerous occasions, as well as Millburn, Summit, Teaneck, and various other municipalities.
And your license are all in good standing? Correct?
Yes.
Thank you.
Does anyone on the board have any questions or objections? There being no objections, the witness is accepted as an expert in architecture. Please proceed.
Good evening. We are here in an effort to expand our home. We purchased it during COVID. My husband's 4 generations of Livingston residents, so the town means a lot to our growing family. Recently had our first child, and we're hoping to build a house that is conducive to our growing family. As you could see, our plans are in front of you, but just wanted to flag a few of the additions to the house that are of extreme value to us. It's adding an attached garage, which I'm sure for anyone that has children, you understand in the harsh winters, and with safety, that's very important for us to include in this project. We are doing ideally a 2-story addition to the rear. Most importantly, it's to allow the children's bedrooms to be on the same floor as us and to expand our living space for, again, the growing family and potentially my father-in-law moving in with us down the line. And then expanding the front porch to be flush with the bump out because of the garage addition, and ideally a nice place to sit and watch the kids play in the front with neighbors. We do have an unusually shaped lot, so I know that is unfortunately one of the concerns here, but we have spoken with neighbors, and our neighbors bordering us have all been supportive of this project.
Okay. Sure. I feel like snowflakes are I'm sorry.
No, it's okay. It is
just
very cold.
The temperature just dropped to like,
Yeah, that's great.
the temperature just dropped like 20 degrees.
Well, we feel, we
5
feel it. I
minutes
don't know.
ago.
Oh, maybe that one. It's very cold.
Yeah, it wasn't like that 5 minutes ago. That's why we all put coats on.
No, it's all right. All right, first I just want to speak to, and this is the first sheet, Z1, and I've just blown up the survey portion of it. So as Bianca mentioned, this is a, very unusual shaped site. It's, almost like a J or an L. And so overall, the lot is, for the R4 zone, it's a larger lot than the zone requires, but the bulk of, not the bulk, but a large percentage of the area is in this back leg, whereas the house is in this front portion, and this front portion is narrower than the R4 requires. You can see the 6243. It's also takes a big step in as you go back 25 feet it comes in, and at the point that it does this is only 100 feet back, And again, for an R4, the minimum lot depth is supposed to be 125 feet deep. So that, so it's, so that was the area where we're trying to work. It's the existing house, and we are keeping the existing footprint of the house. We're keeping the existing foundation, first floor structure, and we're adding onto it from there. But just, and to go back to, because one of the variants is this rear yard setback, and I had a conversation with Kathy Jackson before, when she was the reviewing officer, and we had a disagreement on whether that was a rear yard setback or not, but, Kathy makes the final determination, so she said it is, but I know in other towns, they've said, no, the main one is the rear one, and this they looked at as a side yard setback. But just an overall description of the house, but Bianca gave you a pretty good summary. But to the front of the existing house, we are adding a front porch along the front. But the primary element is to add an enclosed one-car garage attached to the side of the house. And as you can see from the photographs that were submitted with the zoning variance, the existing house is lifted up numerous number of steps. So when we create the garage, we also have to leave room within the garage to get up that 5 or 6 steps to get up to the house level. So that, end up making the garage, because we were trying to keep things to a minimum, but the 12 by 20 is referenced in the zoning ordinance. But in this case, we had to add another 3 feet or so in the back here, so we could have that stairs to go up to this mudroom, which is, a pretty narrow mudroom. It's about 5 feet. So, but the rectangle here is the existing house, and then we are adding on the back. The family room is just a 1-story portion, and the kitchen has a portion of it, has a bathroom over the top, but some of it is also just a 1-story portion with the roof sloping. It's not a big lot, it's not a big house to begin with. That's why we're working with that and respecting that. And so we have 3 bedrooms upstairs. We were trying to get 4, it didn't work. We do have a 4th on the main level. But so it's a 3-bedroom house upstairs, 2 baths, and closet space and a stair. And then we get into the elevations. So one of the things, again, when I mentioned before about that garage and being a little longer, so what we did is we pulled it forward in order to get that stair in there and not push things back into, with the family room and trying to push everything farther back into the house and dealing with creating some other variances. We pulled the garage slightly forward, which we have to ask for variance, but it helps on the front elevation. It helps give us some dimension, and so we're not creating the squared off box. So we were able to create a couple different roof lines, and then the front porch also adds to the character of the house. So that's just a brief overview of the house itself. And so now I'm just going to talk about the...
Mr. Emmer, can you mark that as A1 because that's colorized? The one on the screen, the colorized version.
Okay. How do I do that? I mean, it's the same document. This is just a PDF the PDF has been submitted to the town through Catherine Mattery and...
Okay.
But we're going to mark this for A1 for clarification to show that you covered it.
That's fine.
Right?
But it's the same document you're looking at. Now, are you asking me to mark it as A1?
Yeah, mark it as A1 and send her a PDF.
With the color, yeah.
Color.
I believe they're saying they have it in color, we just didn't have it in color, so it looked to us.
Yeah, I mean, Catherine, the planning board had.
Okay, thank you. Then never mind.
All right.
Thank you.
Hi, Catherine. All right, so, the first variance we're asking for is the front yard variance, and that's, as I mentioned before, we're pulling the porch out. The porch does not require a variance, but the porch is coming out even farther than we're pulling the house out, but the porch is less than the 6 feet extension beyond the front yard setback, which is allowed. So the porch will be a little bit farther out, and then as you go back a few feet, then is the garage. But the garage is 2.5 feet beyond the front yard setback line. So 40 foot is required. The existing house is 41.5, and we are proposing 37.5 to the front of the garage. Then side yard left, there's no request, but that's an existing condition. As you can see on the survey, it says 9.66 right there. That is what it is. Side yard right is currently 18.72, but again, we're adding this one-car garage here, which is 13, a little bit over 13 feet. So that's why when you take that away from the 18.72, we are at the 5.75, and so we were asking for a 4.25 variance at the, at the front corner of the garage. And then you can see as the line slopes back, and once it gets back beyond the garage, we were trying to keep, the family room and everything as much as we could in this area within the 2 side yard setbacks. So in the side yard combined is what it is. So we were asking, when we take the 5.75 and the 9.66, so that totals, and we're asking for the 5.6 variance there. And then we get to the rear yard, and, again, the rear yard deals with the existing condition, just 100 feet back. We have this 25-foot inset of the property. And as I mentioned before, Kathy and I had several, conversations, but she said no, she was going to look at it as a rear yard. So that's why I've listed it as the rear yard. And, and that's, so that's where we are for, and that's the 1-story, and portion of it is 2-story with the bathroom for bath 1 above. So that is the 21.5-foot variance. Again, if we were looking at, as a side yard, we wouldn't even need the variance back there because we're at 13.5. Overall building floor area is, again, the lot size is the 11,834. So we are under the habitable floor area ratio. We're at 28.9, but we are 198 feet over on the floor area itself. And so that's why we're asking for a variance for the floor area. And then the other thing that just for informational purposes is you can see there's an existing frame garage on the back, which is there, which is going to stay, it's existing. There's not going to be any changes made to it. It's just, it is, it's an existing condition, but that was something Kathy had wanted pointed out when we were talking.
Yeah, I'm sorry, Kathy, what?
She had just wanted to point it out, she said, I said, because I had said, so that's, since we were adding the other 1-car garage in front, and it was going to become, but that was, structure was going to stay for various uses. So that's, that's a summary. So again, but it was in, it was working sort of, it was a difficult site. It is a difficult site. I mean, because it's, narrow up front. We're trying to add a 1-car garage because it benefits everybody. I mean, it benefits the client, obviously, keeps the car out of the snow. The municipality likes to have cars off the street. It likes, and any new construction, a 1-car, a minimum of a 1-car garage is required. So, but just doing that and adding it, we were limited, to where we could add it. And so once we do, and so that just created some variance issues with that. So, I mean, that's some of my explanation.
Thank you. Does anyone on the board have any questions for this application?
Yeah, is there a house to the right of this, or?
No, it's the,
To the right? No.
Oh,
It's
It's-
empty.
it's a
vac-
back lot.
They own a double lot.
They do,
And
so
so
it,
the house is on one side and the property next to this is vacant.
oh, okay.
it's just like wooded backyard area, and he gave his blessing, he was fine with it.
That was the neighbor who said he's all in favor of
Yeah,
what you
he did.
Just, the only question, he pointed out, we're going to end up moving this fence right here. He just said, when you do the work, just move that fence and get it on the property line. So that was his only comment.
Yes, please.
Mr. Emmert, you did a good job of explaining the hardships that you have with the site. Is it your opinion as an architect that in the event this variance was granted by the board, is consistent with the municipal land uses purposes, municipal land use laws purposes?
Yes.
Right, and that if it was granted, it wouldn't be the deviation wouldn't substantially outweigh the benefit, it would be beneficial.
No, it would help.
Thank you very much.
Are there any further questions from the board on this application? Any questions from the public on this application? Would anyone in the public like to make a statement on this application? Would anyone on the board like to make a statement about this application?
Yeah, I'll just say it was a good job, and looks like there's a room for a pool in the back, and it looks like you already have a pool house.
You'll be invited, yeah.
Would anyone like to make a motion?
I'm making a motion to approve this application.
I'll second.
Motion by Mr. Nardone, second by Mr. Beer.
Mr. Nardone?
Yes.
Mr. Beer?
Yes.
Ms. Khan votes yes. Mr. Affronti?
Yes.
Ms. Vass?
Yes.
Motion passes.
Thank you.
Congratulations.
All right, thank you very much.
Happy holidays.
Ms. Khan, please call the next application.
Block 4205, Lot 3, 13 Spalding Drive, application number 2023-46-V, Mihir Shroff. Applicant seeks approval for an addition, porch, and rear patio in violation of the following sections: 170-99C2, front yard setback, 40 feet required, 35.04 feet proposed, 4.96 feet variance requested. 170-99C3, right side yard setback, 10 feet required, 5.33 feet proposed, 4.67 feet variance requested. 170-87L1D, front side yard corner yard setback, 35 feet required, 26.97 feet proposed, 8.03 feet variance requested. 170-87CC4, habitable floor ratio, 30% allowed, 34.19% proposed, 4.19% variance requested.
Mr. Schott? I want to make sure I'm pronouncing it correctly. Do you swear or affirm that all the statements you'll make to the board this evening will be true, accurate, and complete?
Yes,
Please consider yourself under oath.
thank you.
Is there, you got?
I have
you
my
got-
architect.
You got another witness, correct?
Yeah.
Would you state your name, sir, for me?
Yes, Roger Winkle, and I'm architect in the state of New Jersey.
Bear with me. Do you swear or affirm that all the statements you're going to make to the board this evening will be true, accurate, and complete?
I do.
Please consider yourself under oath, and would you state your qualifications to the board, please?
Yes, I received my architectural license from the state of New Jersey in 1981. I went into practice for myself in 1984. I've testified before maybe 30 different boards in the state of New Jersey. I did testify here in Livingston, but it was more than 10 years ago. So,
And your license?
and my license is current.
Good standing.
Thank you. Does anyone have any questions or objections? There being no objections, we can accept you as an expert in the field of architecture.
Okay. Would you, I'm not sure if I can go first and then
Sure,
let,
whatever you would prefer.
okay. And I would like to hand out one more exhibit, which is not in your package.
Thank you.
It's, okay.
And we'll mark that as A1.
That is basically a copy of the, showing the existing house on the property. Okay, get that, and
Just before we get started, Jackie, it says it's additions, porch, and rear patio, but it looks like it's a new house. I'm confused. Is it a new house?
we are proposing a new house on this property.
So the narrative is a little messed up then.
Yeah. We got the home in July. We currently reside in Jersey City. I have, yeah. Sure.
Mr. Winkle, for the purpose of the record, A1 is a document which appears to be a survey of the property by KTJ Associates LLC that's dated June 29, 2023. Is that accurate?
That is correct.
And that accurately depicts what the property looks like and the proposed development of the property. Is that correct?
That accurately shows the existing house on the property.
But it also, so those are all existing, including the pavers?
Yes.
Yes, okay. And is there a difference between this document and the document that was submitted with the application that's noteworthy?
No, it should
All right.
be the same.
Can we, let's hold on for a second.
This was submitted. Oh, I'm sorry, I didn't realize that this existing document was submitted previously.
It should already be in the packet that we submitted, actually.
Let Jackie check before we go any further. Let's make sure what we're hearing is really what's been applied for.
There's your pavers. Right, here's your new house. There's the pavers with all the concrete, the air conditioning.
If I may,
Please.
Madam Chairman?
Yes, please,
Well,
thank you.
Here's one of the issues that we're confronted with because of the law and the land use law. You applied for one addition, but now you're applying for a new house. Am I understanding that correctly?
No, this application is for a new house.
But the initial submission, I thought, was for an addition. I thought, maybe I'm incorrect, but that's
There
what I...
was a previously approved plan approved by this board in January 25th, 2022.
No, but the application to vary or modify the provisions of the zoning ordinance, it says additions, porch, and rear patio.
The issue that we have is because you need to publish that in a newspaper and you have to go out and tell everybody what you're going to do and advise the board what you're going to do. When you shift from doing an addition to the purpose of the application being a new house, I'm not comfortable that the notices and everything that's been going on are consistent. It's not a criticism, it's just a fair comment. And my concern is that if we proceed with this application, even if you were to be approved, if the application submitted is substantially different now than what you were proposing, and the notices didn't delineate that that approval might not be effective. Unless I'm misunderstanding her.
We're checking to see if we can, our next meeting is December 12th. It's soon. So we want to see if you can they're checking the
Re-notify.
notices to see if we can adjourn this to December 12th.
You own this, or does an LLC own this?
No, I own this.
Building it for yourself?
Yes. We intend to build this for our own family to move in, basically.
What did it say, Jackie?
So unfortunately, there isn't time for you to, so the original notices were for an addition, porch, and rear patio. And so we need,
Yeah.
so we need, you're gonna have to file new notices to the public. You won't be able to do that in time for the December meeting, so we will have to adjourn this to our January meeting.
The reason that you can't comply with the notice requirements is that the notices have to be published in a newspaper, the Star Ledger or the
Right, right.
Tribune, 10 days prior to the hearing date. And the notices have to be transmitted to the property owners within 200 feet, and anybody else who's entitled to a notice, also 10 days prior.
And so that's the end of the week.
We're now at November 29th. My experience with newspapers is you're going to need at least 3 days advance notice
Right,
to get it in.
which you won't have.
Oh. Is there any way we can, because the thing is, we were trying to get in for the next school year to construct the property.
No, we
and get in
understand,
time.
we understand, we can't hear the as you heard from our attorney, we can't hear the application without the proper notices, and so, we can hear the application in January, and you see, we try and operate very efficiently. Unfortunately, we can't do this before the January meeting.
And it's also to your benefit, because if this board hears it without the proper notices, it's effectively a nullity.
I mean, I think if they submit it tomorrow, there's a chance it would get in before the 10-day cutoff.
He would have to get it into the,
Star Ledger.
yeah, my experience, I'm just going with the experience, is
So do you want to,
you're going to need some divine intervention to get those notices published. I've been through this drill.
Jackie, does the township have to review this again? Because
Yeah, well,
because it's a single-family house and not an addition, does it have to be reviewed again by the?
Yeah, we could send that through the review process. I think the issue that the board is contending now is whether or not he can get public notice through the Star Ledger. So if you can get those notices in and notify my office, we can list it for the December 12th meeting.
That's fine.
See how that goes, if you're able to get those notices in.
When does it have to be published? It has to be published. by
Tomorrow.
what date?
You have to notify the Star Ledger tonight or in the morning.
because it would have to be published, it would have to be published
By
10 days.
December 2nd.
Right.
Yes.
It's 10 days before, not including the date of the hearing.
It has to be
Published by Friday, the latest.
And the notice has to be accurate about the one family, and you have to also send out the notices, certified mail, to all the people that are, people or businesses that are entitled to do it under the,
Right, you have till,
The
what,
same
Saturday?
list and all that, yeah.
So if you can get the notice published in the newspaper, we'll list you for the December 12th hearing. And then, as Ms. Hollis said, if you notify her office, and then you have the rest of the week to get the notices to the public, to the neighbors out. But if not, it'll need to be adjourned to the January meeting. But we can give you that flexibility, and as Mr. Gemma said, hopefully you can get it published by the Star Ledger.
and just a cautionary note, some newspapers now do not publish on a Saturday. In other words, they go to, I know the Ledger is in a transition, I don't know where they are, but there are newspapers that do not publish on Saturdays now. Don't ask
Okay.
me why, I just
Do I need to submit anything again for the application itself?
Jackie, did he submit plans for a new
And I-
house or for a renovation?
I'm sorry, Mr. Nardone, the plans were submitted as an addition. I'll speak with the zoning officer tomorrow to see if the denial letter can be updated.
Okay.
But there's a topo survey that was submitted, but it was submitted just as an addition.
Who filled out all the paperwork?
I did.
You did? You filled out all the paperwork?
Yeah.
And you wrote addition?
Yeah, I mean, I was going based off the previous application that was submitted, which was to add a new second layer
All right.
to the house.
I'm going to make a very strong recommendation here. Consult with counsel and let counsel assist you in getting the paperwork squared away so you don't find yourself in this position in December or January.
Okay, I'll take that.
Trust him.
Trust me on that. There have been people that come before this board that we have turned away 2 and 3 times because they don't want to hire or pay for an attorney to help them, and you will keep coming back until the paperwork is correct.
No, I'll definitely take
Okay.
that into consideration. Yeah.
It's not that we're busting your chops, it's just we gotta follow the law, so.
Mr. Nardone and the board, just, I think the applicant, on good faith, because he has a resolution of approval back in 2021, and he made some amendments to his plan, so he was going based on, and he was going for an
I
amendment.
went based off that.
But the board did approve and granted a list of variances back in 2021.
Right. Okay, so we will adjourn this for now until the December meeting, and you will be in contact with Ms. Hollis and Ms. Madre and let us, and then we'll either see you in December or January.
Okay.
Okay? Do you understand what needs to be done?
Yeah, I understand.
And just so you understand, if I
Go
could,
ahead,
Mr.
please.
The adjournment, the carry to the December meeting is subject to the notices. It's not without further notice. You understand that?
Yep.
Thank you very much.
And there's a chance, Ms. Hollis, that depending on what the zoning officer says, they may have to be pushed to the January meeting anyway.
Yes, Ms. Fass.
Yeah, so you need to be in contact with Ms. Hollis and Ms. Madre tomorrow,
Okay, I'll do that. I'll do that.
okay?
Thank you, and sorry
Okay.
about that.
Thank you.
Yeah, we're sorry, we couldn't help you.
Okay. Meeting adjourned. Yes,
I
oh,
just
wait.
wanted to ask a quick question, like, this one and maybe other applications that come in early December seeking, like, the D variances, we would need 5 people that are also staying on into the new year that would then, like, vote on the resolution, right? So,
That would be.
because, like, we're gonna have some turnover, right? Like,
That is a dynamic that you're going to have to look at, because whoever
Yeah.
sits for the meeting, whoever doesn't, if they don't, and I don't know what your dynamic is in terms of reappointments, but you would have to, if you're not here, you got to read the transcript if you continue on to the following year.
Right, but we can have them read the transcripts if we're in that position.
Okay.
You did. It's true. Okay. Okay, so let's adjourn this meeting. Thank you.